Hello everyone, what's happening? This is Forgo, and today I'm going to try to provide you with a list of the best attack type fighters to build for all these game modes in the game. So let's just get started with it right now, and we're just going to work our way from left to right. I'm just going to talk about the best characters because whenever you're talking about these game modes, you're going to need some super strong characters. You're going to need major strong characters for the Mecha Spider. You're going to need major strong characters for Immortal Typhoon and Immortal Victor like we had last month. You're going to need strong fighters for the Elemental Glacier and the other events that are like this. So we're just going to be focusing on best characters. And something that you want to keep in mind is that in Reviving Hell's Dungeon, the game mode where we actually farm for our experience bottles here, the game mode where we need these experience bottles, is a game mode that you really want to prioritize when you're trying to develop your characters. The more and more of these experience bottles you get, the faster you can level up characters as long as you have memories. That's really the thing that slows us all down, is getting memories, but that's a whole nother subject. So I'm going to be putting a lot of focus on Reviving Hell's Dungeon, but I'll just kind of go through all the attack type fighters, just the attack types, and tell you where they're good and how useful they could be for you. So we're just going to move along over here, and we're going to start over with Pretty Zero. Pretty Zero is absolutely amazing, not only for her leadership, but eventually in Reviving Hell's Dungeon past tier 40, you're going to need a yellow attack team. Guess what? She is freaking insane with that damn Petrify that she has in this third skill. She just locks characters down and beats the living hell out of them. She has some of the highest damage in the freaking game. She is an absolute must, in my opinion, for your yellow team. She's also proven to do really well in the new Immortal Typhoon as a leadership for Nameless and Ignis. And those two characters actually have the type advantage against Elemental Typhoon, and since she provides that 20% extra PG for the leadership, she actually works out really good. Plus, she doesn't have a type disadvantage. You could even use her in the Spider Robot. So I think she's pretty much a must build, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to scroll down here, and we're going to go to Shermy. Now, Shermy is kind of, she would be really good for the Spider Robot, and she'd actually be really good for Reviving Hell's Dungeon. The problem is, currently right now, up until tier 50 in Reviving Hell's Dungeon, we don't need a green attack team. You'll need a green balance team, and you'll need a green defensive team, but you won't need a green attack. So that actually hurts her quite a bit. Plus, she has no immunity. But I mean, if you build her up just like any FS character, she's going to be tanky enough. You throw a Ryugo set, she can definitely put in work. So she would be good against that Spider Robot because of her shock and lightning damage. So that is something to keep in mind, but I don't think she's a must build just for that one game mode. Although she would do really well against Immortal Victor as well because she is a green type. She does have the type advantage. So if you put her on the second team that doesn't have any bleed, she could still put in quite a bit of work, but I don't think she's as high on the list as like other attack type fighters. Then we have Mature. Now Mature is really interesting because she is a blue attack type fighter, and you will need a blue attack team in Reviving Hell's Dungeon past tier 40. So she's going to be pretty much probably a must have, and she applies chill damage. So she's actually, I've been testing her a little bit, she's actually really good against Elemental Typhoon as well. And since she applies chill damage, she could really be good against the Spider Robot. I actually think Mature, especially now with a 3 PG guard, could actually be very good against them. I think she ranks very high on the must build list for attack type fighters. And then I skipped all Original Zero, didn't mean to do that, but Original Zero, the same thing. Blue attack type fighter. Now, he doesn't have any dot effects, so chill damage or nothing like that, but you're going to need a blue attack team for Reviving Hell's Dungeon. That in itself really kind of lets you know that you're going to have to build this guy. He does really well in it. He's got a lot of high damage and a lot of survivability with the hyper armor on his third skill. And he does prove to be useful in Immortal Victor for a nest team, maybe if you're playing in Immortal Victor, because he doesn't have a type disadvantage, which is good. Then you have Iori. Now Iori, you're going to need, again, you're going to need a yellow attack team when you get in them higher levels reviving Hell's Dungeon, past tier 40. So he actually would be an excellent addition because he does have this insane leadership, the increased attack TIE Fighter by 60%. Some people are even, I even used him in Spider Robot, and he actually done really good. If you give him a chill damage card like the Zhong Fei card, maybe something like that, he'd still put in a lot of work. He would actually be a must. And again, I prioritize Reviving Hell's Dungeon because that's the game mode where you farm those experience balls. You need those resources to build your characters. Once you have memories, you need experience bottles. So that's why I kind of put it at number 1, and why Iori really is one of the best for it. Yeah, he doesn't have immunity, but if you build him up, you play him properly, you bring in the right strikers, he can do super amazing in Reviving Hell's Dungeon. So him and Pretty Zero for the yellow attack team, absolutely. And then we have Shion, another yellow attack fighter. And this is the last one of the yellow attacks, and guess what? You're going to need him as well for that yellow attack team. So you could put Shion, Pretty Zero, and Iori on the same team. And Shion has this increased yellow element fire rate attack by 45%, power charge rate by 20%. Great leadership for both the other two yellow fighters. He has the insane shock damage, which makes him very good for Spider Robot. Probably, and plus he has a 3 PG card that's insane, long animation. Probably would be really good for the other game modes as well, like Immortal Victor maybe even. But Spider Robot and definitely Reviving Hell's Dungeon. So an absolute must for your yellow attack team. We're going to scroll over here a little bit. Then we're going to go to the Rock. The Rock is proven, and I know he's a collab character, but this dude is insane. He is an absolute must if you have him for Immortal Victor. You should build him for that alone. But the bad thing about the Rock is you don't need a red attack team for Reviving Hell's Dungeon. You don't need it. You only need a red balance team and a red defensive team. You'll never need a red attack team. So like early on, he'll do really good, but eventually you're going to come to a point where you're going to need a red balance team or red defensive team, and he's just not going to help. And that actually kind of sucks. I've also seen people use him as Spider Robot, give him a striker that has chill damage or shock damage, give him a card, maybe the Zhong Fei card, and maybe give him a shock damage striker, and he's still proved to be very useful because it is a super, super long animation on that 3 PG card. So he's still an excellent character to build, but for Reviving Hell's Dungeon, he's only going to go so far. Then we have Vanessa, who's a purple attack type fighter. Vanessa actually would be really good because you will need a purple attack team once you get past tier 40 and Reviving Hell's Dungeon. Plus, she proves to be very valuable for the Elemental Typhoon because she applies chill, but guess what? Because she applies chill damage. So she's actually really amazing for, let me look at something really quick. Okay, that's what I thought. So she's actually really amazing for the Elemental Typhoon, and she's going to be a really nice character to have for your purple attack team. Then we scroll to Adelheid. Now Adelheid is actually really good for Immortal Victor because he's a green attack type fighter, but again, you will not need a green attack team in Reviving Hell's Dungeon, which sucks. It really lowers the importance of having this character for these game modes, but he does have shock damage. So he actually be really good against the Spider Robot. You know, Netmarble did a really good job as far as making these characters all relevant in some way. So he still would be an excellent character for the Spider Robot. He'd also be an excellent character for Immortal Victor, but he's only going to take you so far in Reviving Hell's Dungeon, and then you're eventually going to need a balance or defensive team. And we move on over to Omega. Omega, again, red attack type fighter, which is only going to take you so far in Reviving Hell's Dungeon. And it really breaks my heart to say because right now I use Harumaru, Omega, and Geese all as my red attack team. But I'm going to have to build these balanced type fighters. I'm going to have to build a red defensive team as well. So they're only going to take you so far, and they're eventually going to have to build other characters. Omega he just isn't good in any of the game modes, except so far in Reviving Hell's Dungeon. So he actually ranks kind of low on the list because he doesn't really have a lot of importance. Yeah, he'll go so far in Reviving Hell's Dungeon, but you'll reach a point where you're not going to need him. you're going to need a red balance team and a red defensive team, which really sucks because he's my favorite damn character in the KOF franchise. But it is what it is. Plus, he has no dot effect, whereas Geese here is a red attack type fighter. He will only be useful so far in Reviving Hell's Dungeon, but Geese is actually really good for the spider robot because he does have shock damage. So he's still really relevant there, still really good for it. Then you have Mukai, and because you need a blue attack team past tier 40, Mukai is actually going to be a really good character to have because he is a blue attack type fighter. He does have this great leadership, increased skill damage by 50% and HP by 20% to blue fighters. And since you rotate through your active skills over and over when you have awakened skills, this is actually a very good leadership for your blue team. So, but he isn't relevant in any of the other game modes, like when you Spider Robot, Immortal Victor. I mean, he's just not a character that you'd really use there, but he's great in Rite of Passage. But honestly, I mean, Reviving Hell's Dungeon is really where it's going to be at for Mukai. Ignis is absolutely insane. Even though he's a green fighter, even though he's only going to go so far in Reviving Hell's Dungeon, like I said earlier, you're going to need a green defensive team and a green balance team. This dude is a freaking must for Immortal Victor. He is an absolute must. And in all honesty, he can do really well in Spider Robot, and he can actually do fairly well in the new Elemental Typhoon. If you give him a Zhongfei card, he can actually do fairly well. He has 30% PG gain in his core effects. He has a 3 PG card. Ignis is just ridiculous. The hyper armor, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's just an amazing freaking character. Haomaru's got the same problem as the other red type fighters. You can only use him so far in Reviving Hell's Dungeon, but he's great against Immortal Victor because he has that long 3 PG, plus he has the bleed, but that's really about where it ends for Haomaru. Now Genjuro here, and I am going to bring up these guys because they are just super strong, but Genjuro here is a purple fighter, so he's going to have the advantage against the Elemental Typhoon, and you will need a purple attack team for Reviving Hell's Dungeon, so his importance is actually quite high. Plus he has hyper armor, he has bleed, he can do okay against the Elemental Typhoon, but his third skill is a very long skill. You're killing a lot of time, but he still can put in work, put his Zhongfei card on. He probably could do really well. He does have a 30% PG gain in his core effect, and he does have a 3 PG card. So, but because his third skill is kind of slow, it does seem like it takes a little bit to build his PG gain, which is kind of a bummer. And then Ignis, who I almost forgot about, and I couldn't believe I did that, but Ignis is actually extremely valuable because he is a purple attack type fighter. He does have shock damage, so he's going to have the type advantage against the Elemental Typhoon. He's going to be good against the Spider Robot because he has shock damage, and you're going to need a purple attack team for Reviving Hell's Dungeon. So to me, he's pretty much a must-have as far as, you know, your characters that you're going to need for your attack type fighters. So pretty much most of the fighters are extremely relevant. I mean, there's a couple that really aren't so relevant, but really for the most part, they are. You also have Lady Maxima here, who is also really insane, great for the Spider Robot, really good for Elemental Typhoon as well, because she has the type advantage. Plus, you could have her on a purple attack team as well. She's a damage dealing monster. She has super armor. She has immunity from her core effect. I mean, she's a terrific character. So you got some options for your purple attack team for sure. For your yellow team, I mean, you're definitely going to have Pretty Zero, Iori, and Shion. They definitely need to be for your purple team. For your blue attack team, you're definitely going to have Zero, Mature, and Mukai. And red and green, you will not be using your attack type fighters once you get past tier 40. So hopefully this will help some of you out. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a video for the balance team and the defensive teams. And as always, let me know what characters you've gotten, what cards you've gotten. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one.